Hello everyone, welcome to part 2 of this replay between me and KneeHee here on Lost Temple. A nice good Terran versus Terran matchup. Hopefully at the end of the game I'll also be able to just give a lot of my thoughts in this Terran versus Terran matchup. If you've seen Day 9 show as well, I'm just going to probably reiterate some of the points that he made along with some, first person and testimonials here on this game. Now you can see once again my army fairly large, and because this is a Terran versus Terran matchup, KneeHee knows that he needs to continue to produce an army as well. So even though he knows he's behind economically, he knows that he cannot spend all of his minerals on SCVs continually, just because his army will lose out significantly in production. Taking a look at the units, we both have 3 siege tanks. He has more Vikings, but I have more Marauders, and the Marauders are really going to be what changes the game here. Not quite sure why he builds a medevac, or why he even builds 2 medevacs. Those medevacs are not really doing anything for him as he's lifted off his barracks. In comes my army over here, just moving on in, Vikings in the air, making sure that if that orbital command does try to lift off, I'm able to shoot it down, snipe it down, and really deny this command center here. Stimming, and now this orbital command goes down once again. Siege tanks coming in over here and going to be able to just destroy me here, but I'm going to go ahead and move within the 0 distance, or try to move within that. I think I moved out. I start just focusing up. Because of these Marauders, I'm just able to shoot and take down so many of these units. Now Vikings coming in trying to land, but one of those Vikings getting taken down so quickly as they're landing. They're vulnerable to ground fire, and you can see how this continues to work here. Those concussive shells on the Marauder probably would have helped significantly, slowing that Viking down and not allowing him to run up that ramp, perhaps even taking it down before its time. Now I'm going to go ahead and move in with a medevac. One of these things that allows me to, one of the mobility of these Marauders and this medevac is how much I can really just taunt KneeHee. KneeHee going to go ahead and drop these Marauders in. There's that new animation from that medevac dropship, and going to go ahead and stim in and move on in, and losing sight of these for just a moment. There I go. Gonna go ahead and stim in and just start trying to focus down more and more of these SCVs. Forget about the longbow missiles. Need to move away that medevac. And this Marauder just sitting, these Marauders just sitting here. Vikings now going to be able to shoot down that one medevac very easily, but my Vikings just come, or my Marauders just coming in, shooting down all these units, and I also start calling down mules into here, trying to get that extra splash damage onto all of those SCVs. Almost get one of those SCVs, and just trying to get more and more of an economic advantage. So KneeHee, taking a look at his army size, down to 500, but really the discrepancy is between the harvester count, 49 harvesters versus 19. And this is all because I've been able to continually produce Marauders. Marauders just simply roll over Vikings on the ground. And so really, as a Terran player, you really need the Marauder and as just DPS in your army. You can see over here now KneeHee setting up an expansion, and down over here on the bottom right hand corner, island expansion, using these mules, and going to be harvesting, being able to try to get back into this game using those 4 mules, getting up to 900, 1200 minerals per 60 units of time. Back over here, siege tanks now going to go ahead and siege on up, and you're going to once again see why Marauders are so powerful against siege tanks. And you remember that siege tanks, as a Terran player, you're more likely gas locked than mineral locked. So gonna go ahead and just move on in with these units. SCV is gonna be able to continue to repair some of these Vikings as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stim these Marines and sit them right here after I scanner sweep in this position. Those siege tanks will not be able to take down these Marauders nearly that easily, and my Marauders are also upgraded 1-1. So in I go. There is that orbital, that scanner sweep, and now just pushing on in, destroying those Vikings so easily like it's nothing. And now all he has are Vikings that are in the air. And with Vikings in the air, I don't really have to be too concerned about them, because if they try to land on the ground, they're just going to simply fall to the wayside. So my siege tanks and my Marauders will be able to just move on in and take down all of these units here, take down that siege tank in siege mode. His Vikings now going to try to move on in, do a last-ditch effort, try to even out the game. And I think I started moving these Marauders and these siege tanks over here to start clearing out these destructible rocks. Forget about that, because we see these Vikings now coming on in. Vikings have a range of 6 while in ground mode, so they will be able to deal a fair amount of damage. Going to go ahead and use a scanner sweep in, shooting down some of those units there, as my Marauders now moving in, trying to take down those Vikings. So Marauders able to shoot up that cliff, and the Vikings continue to shoot, and down go those Vikings with mass Marauders in this Terran versus Terran matchup. I hope you guys enjoyed this Terran versus Terran matchup here on Lost Temple between me and KneeHee. Hopefully I opened your eyes up in the Terran versus Terran gameplay with a little help from Day 9 and Jinro. Using Marauders very, very effectively, not relying on Viking siege tank, just these giant siege wars. You can also open up the game with a little bit of Hellion play as well. Hellions, as long as you can get the level 1 armor upgrades, and you can try to force the Terran player to use these siege tanks, fire at the Hellions, absorb 2 or 3 of those siege tank shots with those Marauders behind in stim. They'll be able to get within that 0 range very, very easily, and then finish off those siege tanks. Siege tanks in with stim, I believe, are 7.5 or 0.75 and fire over 0.75 seconds. So that is a very, very fast attack rate, and significantly faster than a siege tank and more DPS than a siege tank, and that's why the Marauder can normally beat a siege tank, especially within siege mode. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this 1v1 replay here on Lost Temple.